Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between the Dwarves led by Grandpa GROMBY and Norsca, who's going to be led by Wulfric the Wanderer. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So as far as my army goes, we do have a bit of a wide force. So in the front, or I should say vanguard, we do have two groups of the miners with blasting charges, and I cannot speak volumes about how good blasting charges are against Norsca. So if you get blasting charges against berserkers or any of the low tier marauders, so either the great weapon or the shielded variant, if you get like a square hit, it can honestly take them from full health down to like 60%. It is devastating. And on top of that, if they do go with like champions, which personally, whenever I play Norsca against the Dwarves, I like to get Marauder champions with great weapons. These guys do have some armor piercing. So at the very least, their blasting charges will do okay against 80 armor of the champions. And they do have a little bit of AP, so they can put a dent into the champion. So I think that miners with blasting charges having a bunch of them is a really good idea. So we have two up here in Vanguard that are going to be sweeping. I could see my opponent was in the forest because I don't think the Soul Crusher was hidden. It's a pretty big mammoth, pretty hard to hide in here. So I was able to kind of turn face. You can see I'm basically just squaring up my whole army. In the secondary line, another group of miners with blasting charges. So I'm hoping that my opponent's going to have to come through a couple layers before he gets to my actual infantry force. So miners with blasting charges here. In the third line, we got Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. So I was expecting champions, and Dwarf Warriors are honestly pretty stalwart. They have good leadership, good armor, high melee defense, and okay weapon strength. So the Dwarf Warriors should do okay against most Norscan infantry, especially when they're teamed up with Runesmiths. We have two of the Smiths here. We got one here and one on the other side, so each of them has the Rune of Negation. I didn't think the extra armor would really be helpful here, so we do have the Rune of Negation as well as the Rune of Wrath and Ruin on that one, and then the other one does have, I think, the same exact kit. So we're just going to be using the Rune of Wrath and Ruin on infantry, and whenever a big whenever a big mammoth or any other sort of prehistoric creature comes in, we're going to be able to use the Rune of Negation. Over here, guys, everyone's favorite GROMBY. So GROMBY hasn't been here for quite some time, but I figured he might be okay. He hits like a truck. He's an absolute beast in combat. And he does have the smoke bomb, or the flash bomb is what it's called. So enemy chariots come in, or any big monsters are trying to like cycle charge me. I figured his flash bomb would be okay. And if Wulfric wants to go fisticuffs with Grombrindle, it's going to be a pretty tough fight. And GROMBY does have a decent HP pool as well. Quite a bit more than Grimgor. I think he has like 600 or 700 more than the Black Orc. In the back line, we have a couple of Bugman's Rangers, so two groups of those, and Bugman's Rangers are just so damn good. They're great melee combat, pretty good at shooting down skin wolves and trolls and mammoths. Even though they don't have like heavy armor piercing, they can still do some good work. And just in case he goes with like heavy mammoths, we did bring Irondrakes with the Trollhammer torpedoes. So guys, the time is near for some glorious torpedo action. In each of my backline units is going to be guarded by a group of Slayers, so Slayers, and then in the middle I do have the Dragonback Slayer. So I feel like it's going to be a pretty tough army for Norsca, but there are some ferocious forces here in the forest. You can see a whole front line of Marauders with great weapons, bringing some AP to the table. Wulfric on his chariot, he does have Norscan Ice Trolls, it looks like. Hunters with Javelins here in the back. Most likely, he's going to be using these guys, or he brought these guys to take out Gyrocopters and stuff like that, because, if I had brought Gyros, I could have just, like, deployed in the corner. Well, I wouldn't do that, but I could deploy in the corner and just, like, troll him with the Gyros, and he would have no answer. So I do like this one pick. And honestly, the Marauder Hunters with Javelins are pretty good against Slayers, so they can just kind of pepper down Slayers, so I like that. Got the Soul Crusher going balls deep, hoping I wouldn't bring a bunch of anti-large, and all I really have is the Irondrakes that are going to just melt this thing, so we'll see if he's able to kind of shut those down. Norscan Ice Wolves, he has the Miststalkers here on the far side who are going to be vanguarding and sneaking around, and that is pretty much it. Let's get this battle underway. So initially I kind of scouted forward, and I was like, oh no, Wulfric's going to come, so these miners were going to try and flee to the cover of the Irondrakes. So you can see the Irondrakes are kind of wading through the front line, trying to get up there to blast Wulfric. But alas, these dwarves are going to take some punishment. Unfortunately, it was a little bit bunched up too. So Wulfric gets in there, gets a nice charge, runs through a couple of those guys. But, they should fight back and, maybe be able to pin them down. Dwarves do have pretty good mass. You can see Wulfric is taking some nibbling damage here. That's actually almost like 100 damage. Not bad. These miners do take some casualties. So far, they've lost almost 10 models. It looks like there's the 10th model right there. And Wulfric's trying his best to kind of club them. The other group of miners I am pushing forward to try and, get the Marauders with some blasting charges, but the mighty Soul Crusher awaits, and it looks like Wulfric might be coming in for another charge. I mean, that's some pretty good free value, but I don't know if he saw the Irondrakes kind of wading through the ranks. So the Irondrakes are coming in, they're going to lower their guns, and here comes the torpedoes right into Wulfric's face, and he's just going to take a ton of damage. You can see Wulfric's definitely in the wrong neighborhood, as Overwatch fire from the Bugman's Rangers, and these miners are going to be, unfortunately, a little bit collateral, but, they're doing it for their people. They're proud. Wulfric takes a ton of damage. He gets absolutely blasted by those Irondrakes, and Grombrindle is also marching forward as well. In case Wulfric wants to get a little bit more aggressive, I'm going to have a very punishing character. Those blasting charges weren't necessary, and it was actually quite a waste, so I should have turned those off. He does get a Sea Fang in the back, which runs over one group of Dwarf Warriors, but it didn't do a ton of damage. And here comes Soul Crusher. Again, I wasted the blasting charges, but it looked really cool, so it was totally worth it. I should have countercharged as well. But yeah, basically getting blasting charges here. This is going to be a pretty good one as these miners lower their satchels right into the face of these filthy Norskins. We can just look at the damage that did. I mean, it wasn't like the best hit, but it still did quite a bit. So very happy with that. The Runesmiths on the secondary line will be advancing here in a moment. The Bugman's Rangers here in the back, again providing some solid overwatch against the Berserkers and Marauders who do not have shields. Runes of Wrath and Ruin going down, and Grombrindle's now going to be fighting the Elephant. I did have to pull back the Irondrakes. A pretty damn good pendulum for my opponent. He's able to wreck my Bugman's Rangers there, so he's getting some pretty good work in there. But now the Trollhammer Torpedoes are going to be firing in on the Soul Crusher. I did pop the Flash Bomb, but my opponent also uses the Scroll of Shielding to kind of mitigate some of the damage, hoping he can just kind of bust through the front line. But, you know, I have a lot of secondary troops, and he's really just fighting miners now. For instance, some of these Dwarf Warriors are fighting in the front. Look at that hero Dwarf with the overhand chop on that Troll. And, of course, the Bugman's Rangers will switch onto these Trolls in just a moment. Runesmiths also are really good, even if you're holding your front line with miners. If you put a Runesmith with those miners, honestly, you can hold for a long time. Because the Runesmiths will take a lot of the damage. They also have the Rune of Wrath and Ruin and the Rune of Negation to make your guys a little bit tougher. So frontline engagement still underway. He was forced pushing through with the Mammoths here, but you can see the Dragonback Slayers are kind of here, so they're going to be intercepting Wulfric as well as the Mammoth here, and the other group of Slayers is rotating over. And on the same note, I am falling back with those Bugman's Rangers to kind of escape these Miststalkers here. But that's a lot of Slayers, and the Dragonback Slayers do have a slow. You can see that one Iron Drake with the Trollhammer Torpedoes falling back. This is the wrong neighborhood. I mean, pretty much everything he was able to push through with is a Mammoth or Wulfric or Trolls, all of which just get wrecked and just absolutely wrecked by Slayers. So now the third group of Slayers, now that he's kind of committed to all of his mobile forces, I didn't really mind kind of pushing forward. The Bugman's Rangers still continuing to shoot on the Marauder Hunters there, doing a very good job. A Pendulum going down, trying to break my front line there, but the Dwarves are holding proud. And man, this Mammoth is just getting pounded by these Iron Drakes. Just kind of the hordes and hordes of Slayers are just fending them off. See, the Hunter of Champions is going down on GROMBY here, but GROMBY is not going to go quietly into the good night. He's just the angry grandpa. He's going to be clubbing some of these Trolls. I feel like in the Halls of the Mountain King, like, that should be playing whenever he's, like, fighting the Trolls here. But he's doing a good job. You can see he's going to be chopping down a Troll right there, and he does fell one of the Ice Trolls. Very thematic stuff there. And you can see the Bugman's Rangers still doing a great job, and the Mammoth is getting a little bit danger low. Has about 1,000 HP, and the Slayers are just cutting apart everything here. And the Mammoth is taking Overwatch fire from those Trollhammer Torpedoes, and you can see the Soul Crusher is going to fall as the Javelin crews up top go. And the Dwarves let out a celebratory cheer as the Soul Crusher does fall to the... Oh man, look how bloody that is. Gross. But very good stuff. These Iron Drakes definitely paying for themselves. I don't know. The Bugman's Rangers might have been able to bring it down, but these Iron Drakes really paid for themselves. So Wulfric did push in a little bit aggressively. GROMBY was able to whip him a little bit, so you can see Wulfric's going to be running with his tail in between his legs as these Slayers do kind of a karate chop the last of these Famir Warriors down. And yeah, it looks like the Famir are going to break. But I definitely think the triple Slayer paid off for sure. It really ended up being very good here. And you can see Grombrindle as well as his Dwarf Slayer retinue here are going to be doing pretty good work chopping down this Famir Balefiend with the Lore of Shadows. It also looks like Wulfric has escaped that center engagement, so he's gotten away from the angry, foaming at the mouth Slayers here, who are hot in pursuit of the last of the Balefiends. And he's going to be kind of pressuring the flanks, which I definitely think is a good idea. I do have a couple of groups of scattered Dwarf Warriors and Miners throughout the map that I think would make some pretty good targets for Wulfric to hunt down. But as you can see, the Slayers are a relentless folk. 47 Slayers here, and 26 of the Dragonback Slayers are just going to be chasing Wulfric as the Benny Hill theme plays, and he does try and ride around and escape. Looks like he might be trying to get into some of these Iron Drakes, but again, they have a pretty good line of sight. And oh, Wulfric gets taken out with the Steel Torpedo, which I guess is the Warhammer equivalent of a steel chair from WWE. So man, he got blasted into another realm of existence. Him and that Mammoth definitely not having fun at the hands of the Trollhammer Torpedoes. Over here, the Bugman's Rangers still continuing to do a good job. Very underrated. This game didn't get a lot of attention, but they still racked up a ton of kills. 78 right there against Marauders and miscellaneous troops, and it looks like the other group got 32. But at this point, it's basically the last of the Berserkers, or the last stand of these Norscan wildlings here. Going to be taking some blasting charges to the face and just being incinerated in the swamp here. I'm not sure how those flames are kind of staying. I think this is like an aquatic swampland here. But regardless, the Slayers are going to be piling in as well. They're high DPS, and Grandpa Grombrindle marching through the flame and decapitating the last of those Berserkers. It looks like, I think that might have been the last one actually. Yeah, so GROMBY coming in with the killing blow there in the end. Yeah, that was a fun game. It certainly wasn't like the longest, most back and forth game, but I really wanted to show you guys because there was some cool cinematics, seeing the Mammoth get blown apart by the Iron Drakes, and Wulfric, of course, getting that steel chair. But aside from that, I thought the build was pretty safe against Norsca. Miners do a really good job in the front. So, for example, if you had gone with like a couple Marauder champions, I think the Miners would have done some okay damage with the charges and could have brought them down to like 70% maybe. And from there, I think the Dwarf Warriors plus the Runesmiths would have done an okay job holding the front line. Slayers, of course, can deal with chariots. They can deal with, any sort of big monstrous threat. I feel like they do a good job there. Bugman's Rangers just always solid. I mean, even if the Bugman's Rangers had been pulled into melee and had to fight, for example, let's say some champions, their combat stats are so good that, yes, they wouldn't have beaten a group of Marauder champions, but they could have put up a fight. So that's why I really like Bugman's Rangers. I feel like they're incredibly solid. And aside from that, IRONDRAKES honestly performed extremely well this game, and I was just really happy with how everything performed. The Flash Bomb was solid at kind of slowing down the front line. GROMBY, of course, is pretty scary. If anyone wants to go fisticuffs with GROMBY, you better bring the big guns for sure. For my opponent's army, so my suggestions, I like Wolfric on the Chariot. I like the Shadowcaster. I do not like Marauder Champions with Great Weapons because they get melted by Bugman's Rangers as well as Miners with Blasting Charges. So I probably would go with Marauder Champions, cut the Ice Trolls. Soul Crusher is like a fun pick, but it's still very risky. Dwarves are really good at taking out big targets. So I would probably cut the Trolls as well as the Soul Crusher. I would keep these guys. It's pretty good. I would replace these with Champions. I would probably mix in maybe another Ice Wolf Chariot. Just go wider with Infantry, I think, is going to be a little bit safer. So Wolfric plus another Ice Wolf Chariot plus a Shadowcaster. Marauder Champions with Great Weapons. You can get some like Harassing Cav in the back line. Even Marauder Horsemen Throwing Axes aren't terrible. So you have options. I just think the Mammoth plus the Frost Trolls or the Ice Trolls here are a little bit risky. So anyways, very well played to my opponent. Silent Death. Look forward to running into again on ladder. And hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing Grandpa GROMBY and his IRONDRAKE buddies from his drinking buddies from the bar in action. All right, guys. Have an excellent night. Take care.